So as of you now know, well, first of all, my hello everybody. Welcome to today's video. I'm here with a special guest. You Packers fans might know him. He made a video on you, but let's give him the welcoming that he deserves.
Yeah.
The Windy City Productions.
Yes, sir.
And that is the cry of many Packers fans saying, "Oh, just another salty Bears fan. I'm clicking off." So, Wendy, I could call you Wendy, right?
Yeah, call me anything. Yeah, that's fine.
So, Wendy, going back to this week, this is the week, Packers, well, I heard a lot too, Packer drama. Going to what Aaron Rodgers said, like it was Sunday, he was during a Q&A, and then hearing Matt LaFleur, like 3 days ago, where he said, "I believe Aaron is the quarterback that we're going to see for a very long time." If you heard that press conference, I just want to give you take because I also did a video on this because I didn't get what was trying to be told. I felt like Aaron Rodgers was being more honest than the coach. So, what's your take on the situation?
Yeah, I feel like, anytime a coach says that, like, this guy is going to be here for a long time, that almost never happens. So I honestly think that Aaron Rodgers, there's a chance he could be still in Green Bay for a while because obviously he's still super talented, like, beats up on us like a lot. But, getting Jordan Love in there, and with the, refusal of the Packers management to provide Aaron Rodgers with more weapons, it kind of makes you think that, maybe they're trying to go away from him in the future. And Aaron Rodgers also, he's not happy at all right now. Like, you could see it in his face and like how he conducts his interviews. He's not happy at how the offseason went. He was probably hoping to get like more receiver help, more help, on the offense, but obviously they didn't really get anybody for him. And, you saw like even Devin Funchess, the guy that they got, he opted out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see Aaron Rodgers being with the Packers for more than 2 or 3 years max. Like, I feel like that's it pretty much. What do you think? How long do you think Rodgers is staying here?
I did a video on this. I was called delusional for this. All depends how Aaron Rodgers fits in Matt LaFleur's system because despite despite him winning 13 games, which I don't think he was actually, the team was actually a 13-3 team going into the NFC Championship. I don't think he looks good in Matt LaFleur's system. And this year, if he doesn't look good in Matt LaFleur's system, he might as well, they like for example, like week 3 they play New Orleans in the dome. Let's just say they get blown out and then they pull out Aaron Rodgers and see if Jordan Love is going to, take a step up or notch.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to like imagine a scenario where that happens because even if he doesn't like fit, like I feel like Rodgers can like pretty much fit in any offense. But if he really doesn't fit, then yeah, I guess you could call up Jordan Love. But I mean, what I think is going to happen is that Aaron Rodgers is probably going to start the entire season, barring any injury or whatnot, and then maybe next year they bring in Jordan Love, or I don't really know what they're thinking, but that's pretty much my opinion.
Yeah, you did not only you didn't only take a quarterback, you traded up to get him.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a decision that most even Packers fans didn't like because they obviously wanted like one of the top receivers, and getting Jordan Love, who's probably not even going to start for a couple of years, that's a questionable decision. So I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Okay, despite Packers fans have probably told you this already. They have said the reason why Jordan Love had those stats is because he was missing 11 of his starters last season. Less
Mhm.
of his. So, what was your take on that? Where you think they're just trying to make an excuse? Like I said that, oh, if you drafted Jalen Hurts, you probably would defend the pick too.
Yeah, I mean, oh, was he actually missing 11? I wasn't like I haven't really watched him in college that much, Jordan Love, so I'm probably not the best person to ask, but like what I've seen is that he's kind of similar to Patrick Mahomes in some areas where he has a decent arm, decent athleticism, but we don't know how it's going to pan out, in the NFL. And the Patrick Mahomes of the world are like super rare, so he's probably not going to be like anywhere close to a Patrick Mahomes. Most likely, what happens with these types of players that didn't really dominate in college per se, they become more like Blake Bortles. Like that's more likely than becoming a Patrick Mahomes. But also, the Packers have really succeeded at picking quarterbacks. Like they had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Bart Starr, and all. So maybe they know something that we don't. But I don't know. I still don't agree with like the Jordan Love pick. Like even some other quarterback, I feel like would have been better. Probably a receiver would have been the best, but yeah, I don't know how Jordan Love is going to look in the NFL.
Despite what they had for taking the quarterback tomorrow, which was the pick, I was watching. When we drafted Cole Clement and Jalen Johnson, two sweet picks, by the way. I was waiting till the Packers picked for both nights so I could just see if they drafted a wide receiver. And the second pick, they picked a running back, which a third string running back out of college. And then the third round, which I almost fell asleep on, they drafted a tight end,
Yeah,
which was a 6th round prediction. I'm like, who?
yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a good draft overall. I feel like their top three picks were positions they didn't even need, and even the picks themselves were not like great picks per se. Um,
Actually, they kind of needed a tight end just in case if Stumberger didn't end up.
yeah, but he's being used as like a fullback, I heard, so he's not even going to be a tight end. Or I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. Like he's not even going to be a tight end; he's going to be a fullback. Which in that case, drafting a fullback that early, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, but well, after we got Cole Clement, lots of Packers fans, probably have made memes, and some people made memes about the Bears getting 50 tight ends.
Hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't really see why it's even talked about because now we obviously don't have 50 tight ends. We have like seven, which is like a decent. That's like a normal number to bring into training camp. I think the Packers have like six, so we only have one more than the Packers, so it's not really anything to worry about at all.
So what? So at any record, what do you see the Packers going to? Despite because week 1 I have them winning against Minnesota because they faced them at home, and the next game I have them losing to Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I was just on the other podcast right now. What I predicted is I'm still picking them to be over the Bears as of now. Like even as a Bears fan, just because I don't want to be, overly aggressive with my prediction. Every time I'm like overly aggressive, thinking that the Bears are definitely going to beat the Packers, it never happens. So I'm predicting they're going to finish just above the Bears right now, but obviously that could change. There's a lot of stuff in their offense that, it could take a step backwards. They don't have a good number two option besides Devontae Adams. Their defense is kind of overrated, if you ask me. Their run defense is horrible. Obviously, their pass defense is pretty good. They have some pretty solid pass rushers. And, the only reason I even give them this good of a record, ahead of the Bears is because they have Aaron Rodgers, like probably a top quarterback in the NFL. And if he's healthy, it's going to be tough to beat him. But, um, I don't know that as of now, I'm still picking them to be ahead of the Bears, but obviously, that could change. What do you think?
Um, I don't have the Packers doing well. Like, I'm trying not to be Adam Rank and trying to jinx my predictions because I said many times in my videos that they were going 8-8 and missing the playoffs. And I'm like, okay, just because you have Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean you're sexy. You have to give that man weapons, which they could have. They could have. I'm personally thinking that they could have got DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, the Packers? Yeah, that would have been pretty interesting. Yeah.
No, I mean, no disrespect to Bill Bryan, but Bill O'Brien can basically trade anybody any day, which I could have think we could have used Adam Shaheen for J.J. Watt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with the offseason we had overall, like players we got. But yeah, the Packers, if they got another receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, that would be freaking crazy. But I don't know, man. I feel like they're fine with Devontae Adams, I guess. And having nobody else.
All right, so I'm not sure how many pictures you got with Packers fans. You know, I've gotten so many pictures of Mahomes in a Bears jersey. Well, very little of Deshaun Watson being in a Bears jersey, and they say just a reminder: this could have been your quarterback, and he was available.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten them too. Like, it's obviously like a joke now with the national media. They're always gonna say like, "Oh, we didn't pick Patrick Mahomes," even when Trubisky was the number one overall consensus pick, like with all the scouts. Obviously, looking back, maybe he wasn't the best pick. I mean, definitely as of now, because you know Watson and Mahomes have had the better careers, but nobody could have predicted how good Patrick Mahomes was going to be. And also, you know, a lot of his success is also due to the fact that they have like a lot of playmakers on offense that the Bears don't have, like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid is a really great play caller. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's remains to be seen how Trubisky is going to finish his career here. I'm probably going to give him like one more year before officially quitting on him, but yeah, that's pretty much my opinion. What do you think about Trubisky? You think he's gonna be starting this year, or what do you think?
I've said this many times. I've actually asked a bunch of YouTubers this. Um, I think they're gonna let Trubinsky start because you know Pace, who's the biggest fan in the Chicago building, it's Ryan Pace because not only did he pick Trubinsky, he moved up one position in the draft to take him, and not only that, Mahomes got a good contract extension. Watson's about to get his contract extension. Who was the first quarterback pick in that draft? It was Trubinsky. But if you do not under some people don't understand if they don't if Pace doesn't extend Trubinsky, that pick is a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean if he has a pretty good season though next year, you know, I still don't think we're gonna extend him. We're probably gonna give him like the franchise tag, see if he can do it again. But yeah, I mean, obviously looking back, it was probably a failure of a pick when he could have had Watson or Mahomes. But I'm still giving him this year. I feel like he can win with a pretty good defense. He's not going to be as good as Mahomes or Watson, but he can win if you give him a good defense and you know the offensive line around him as well.
I agree, but I'm starting to hold Deshaun Watson accountable because I've actually asked a YouTuber this that I actually hold him accountable for blowing that 24-point lead. Even
Oh,
though it's easy to blame Bill O'Brien because he was up 24 points and he blew it in a quarter. He had DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, basically everybody healthy, and he still blew that lead. So imagine if they hold on to that lead. They have home field advantage versus the Texans. We could have seen Deshaun Watson in the Super Bowl, but he blew that lead in the quarter. And obviously, this is what I'm going to say about Packers fans that blame the defense. Always. They even blame the defense for why they lost in the NFC Championship game. It's one thing out of Aaron Rodgers' playoff losses in that Seattle game, you can obviously blame it on the onside kick. But out
yeah.
of all, when he gets blown out, it's easy to blame the defense. When Deshaun Watson loses, they blame Bill O'Brien. But who has to be held accountable for when he blows a 24-point lead with everybody healthy? Meanwhile, Peyton Manning, one of the greatest of all time, Peyton Manning has carried worser coaches to 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. Like the media does make excuses for a lot of players. Like the players they love. I mean, the media loves Patrick Mahomes. They love Aaron Rodgers. They love Deshaun Watson. Like they make excuses a lot for the players they actually love. But obviously, like football is a game where it's never truly like one person's fault. So if you blow a lead, it's the combination of your receiver's fault, your quarterback fault, your defense defense's fault. Like it's pretty much impossible to pinpoint just one player you could blame. A lot of people say it's the quarterback because the quarterback obviously has the most impact on the game, so they just blame the quarterback. As in the case of like Peyton Manning not winning more Super Bowls, they blame him for that when obviously he was a really good quarterback. And I don't know why they make excuses for some players. It's something you'll probably have to ask the media. You know, I don't know, man. It's just Aaron Rodgers does get a lot of excuses for not winning more championships, but I do agree to some extent the defense, like the run defense was horrible in the NFC Championship game, but he could have probably played better as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's my opinion.
So let's go back to their off season. Let's because they lost both key players, Martinez and um, David Balaga, Brian Balaga.
Mhm.
They replaced Balaga with Rick Wagner from the Detroit Lions, and they replaced Blake Martinez with Christian Kirks. So, what are your opinions on both of those signs?
Yeah, it's a downgrade in both areas. More on the offensive line, or sorry, more on the the linebacker changes they made because Rick Wagner is still a pretty good player. With the Lions, he was pretty decent, but he's obviously not at the level of Bulaga. So that's definitely going to be a downgrade. Probably won't affect them that much, but yeah, at the linebacker, going from Blake Martinez to Christian Kirksey, I remember a lot of games where the Bears played the Packers where Blake Martinez made like some crazy good plays. So that's going to be a loss for sure. And, overall, their defense, it's looking like, it could regress this year as compared to last year. They had a pretty decent year last year. The pass rush was good. The run defense was bad, but it was kind of masked by a pretty good pass rush early on. So, it's definitely a downgrade, but it probably won't affect them that much on the offensive line. That is.
All right, so they technically didn't upgrade their tight end position, getting rid of Jimmy Graham. Do you really think the reason why he didn't look like the Jimmy Graham we thought he was in his last year of Seattle?
Uh,
Because the Packers really didn't know how to use him well, and the reason being that his trust between him and Aaron.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the Packers offense, even over the past couple of years before Jimmy Graham, they never really used their tight end that much. So, going from like a place like New Orleans to even Seattle where they use their tight end a decent amount, going to the Packers, I mean, obviously it's not going to have the same stats because they don't incorporate their tight end that much into their offense. So that's definitely a reason why. I know some people also want to say he's kind of washed up. He's probably not the same route runner he was, or doesn't have the same speed, but he's still a pretty damn good player. Like if you put him up in the end zone, posting up against the DBs and all, like I think he can still catch a decent amount of TDs. I think we did overpay him for sure. Like I don't agree with giving him that contract, but I think he can do some damage with the Bears. Definitely an upgrade over, Trey Burton, who was complete ass his entire time.
Um, I actually like Trey Burton, which I was actually kind of shocked we released him because
Really?
when I first got the message that Trey Burton was released, and I was kind of like, uh, here's the part I disagree with. You bring in Nick Foles and you and Trey Burton has known Foles and he was a part of the Super Bowl run. Why would you get rid of Trey Burton when you bring in a Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more that Trey Burton couldn't even stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If he was truly like fully healthy, yeah, he's probably a decent option. He probably would have stayed on the Bears, but this dude just could not stay healthy. Like he had groin injuries pretty much every single year, and I don't know. Last year he was just so injury plagued that I feel like the Bears didn't think they could even rely on him. So,
Um, going back to the trust system between Jimmy Graham and Aaron Rodgers. here's my I don't really like Aaron Rodgers because well, first of all, he demolishes my team every year. Why wouldn't we like him? But it's not only that. It's just I don't like the reason he tanked the season to get he tanked the 2018 season to get Mike McCarthy fired. And besides, he threw his wide receivers under the bus because they didn't run his routes. They ran the coach's routes. And I have a feeling you can't ruin somebody's career all because they did what the coaches told them to.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's like kind of a hard ass sometimes. Like he's probably not the best person to be around. He's not as nice as other quarterbacks. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with what you said pretty much. Yeah.
Because I was watching mostly the 2018 season. I was actually kind of heartbroken the first game because we were up 20 points and then we blew that lead to one leg Aaron Rodgers. And then for the entire season, it looked like they were not. I'm like, okay, they looked pretty bad in 2018, and I still ask myself how we blew that lead. And people have been saying, oh, it's because Kyle Fuller dropped that easy interception. No, we let our guard down after we put up 20 points. We don't put 20 points up and expect to be done because Aaron's back and he can do lots of crazy things when he's back. And I feel like when we were up 20 points, we just let our guard down, and our defense was pretty having an amazing night. Khalil Mack was coming in, had a amazing pick six and a fumble recovery, and Akeem Hicks and Roquan Smith was introducing himself. And I have a feeling that we could have won that game if we didn't let our guard down.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think anybody expected Aaron Rodgers to even come back that game. So that's kind of why the defense, they weren't playing as good as they did early on in that game. You know, we didn't get those sacks anymore, the pass rush. And also the Packers started, getting the ball off pretty quick. So, it was pretty much impossible for a pass rush to get there. And then our offense could not put up any points either. So, yeah, it was a collective team choke pretty much.
Yeah, I had to say, well, we started off 3-1 both seasons, to start off with. Then I was watching this game after I was watching the Dolphins game, and I'm like, how do you lose to the Dolphins? Like, I know Parkey ultimately choked the game, and I have a feeling because Leonard Floyd very pissed me off that game when he body slammed
Yeah.
I don't know who he body slammed. It was either Frank Gore or Kenny on Drake. He pissed me off that game, and I'm like, why would you? I'm happy we got Robert Quinn, by the way. Like, why would you body slam a guy when you just take him down and you ultimately cost the Bears 7 points?
Yeah, he probably just got too mad or something. I'm also happy that we got Robert Quinn because Leonard Floyd, even from like a pass rushing standpoint, he was pretty horrible the last 2 years. Like he didn't really do much of anything, even with Khalil Mack on the other side. So yeah, I'm happy we got Robert Quinn for sure.
But going to that game where it's a game that the Bears should have won, even though the Dolphins really didn't have their star quarterback Ryan Tannehill, which he
Yeah.
wasn't really a star. He was actually kind of an average. But going back to that game, which the Bears should have won, I have a feeling that the Bears could have had a first round bye if they beat the Dolphins in Miami
Mhm.
and we didn't blow that lead against the Packers. And we may never know because even if Kevin White catch that ball against the Patriots, which I was actually on top of my chair when he caught that ball, he was just 1 yard short away from the goal line. And plus, we don't know what would have happened if Kevin White made it to the end zone because the game would have gone to overtime.
Yeah.
And the Giants game, which Trubinsky was injured and Chase Daniel, my blood pressure needed to be checked that game because he pissed me off that game.
Oh, for real, man. I remember like watching the end of that game and being so excited we came back, and then in overtime, Chase Daniel just threw the game away. Like that was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like we had a reliable backup just in case if Trubinsky stinked up the joint.
Yeah, we definitely did, but we do have one now, Nick Foles.
Um, just going back to what Packers and Vikings fans have told me after we traded to get Nick Foles, that he said he got replaced by a 6th round pick and that didn't win a game, and that didn't like Foles didn't win a single game at all in on Jacksonville after they overpaid him, which I don't think that was kind of the Jaguars, because I don't think they should have overpaid Nick Foles because a he's an average quarterback. B, you could have used that money to add in more wide receiver in your depth. 3, you are aware that Nick Foles hasn't played a full season. So God forbid he gets injured, who do you have as a backup? So
Yeah.
you overpaid a guy, like I don't remember his contract very well. I'm just going to assume it was for 4 years. So you're gonna have a 4-year injury prone guy, which you're paying 80 million on your roster, and it's gonna hurt your cap space so bad.
Yeah,
So
it was definitely not a good decision looking back. I think he got like it was like 92 million or something for 4 years, so it was definitely overpaying him because for the majority of his career he's been like a backup. And that's like where he's usually best. Like behind Carson Wentz, whenever Carson Wentz always got injured, which happened like the 2 years he was there recently. He was there for them in the playoffs and also in the regular season. So yeah, he's a really good backup quarterback. Maybe he could be a starter in the right system. Hopefully that's the Bears, if Trubisky doesn't work out.
yeah, but I kind of want Trubisky to I kind of want Mitch to succeed, because I have a feeling if Pace gets fired, most of our defensive players will be gone except for Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson, maybe Akeem Hicks. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
I mean, it depends on like how bad our season is. If it's like 7-9 or like somewhere around there, then they'll probably be back, maybe with a different quarterback. But if it's like 3-13 or like somewhere around there, then yeah, I could see a lot of the players going away.
Well, if we let's be for real, if we go 3-13, we have the first overall pick most likely, and we can
Yeah.
get Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not never once in a blue moon. It's not going to happen because the defense is top 5, if and the defense is just too good to tank. But going back to your video, which you had the Bears 11-5, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the Bears at 11-5, and how many people just said you're just saying that because you're a Bears fan?
Yeah. A lot of them. I mean, it's because the media, right? The sports media, they all hate the Bears right now. Like they don't like the Bears at all, and it's kind of dumb because the only reason they say for not liking the Bears is the quarterback, which I agree. The quarterback has the most influence on the team. If you don't have the quarterback position figured out, you can't be a good team. But if you also look at how great the defense is, probably top 5, just the defense alone can carry us to like 6 or 7 wins. And if we even have average quarterback play like we did in 2018. Actually 2018 was probably a little bit above average, but if we have the 2018 quarterback play, we can be a 12-4 team again. Like we honestly have kind of the same pieces, as we did in 2018. Like the main superstars we had in 2018, we still have them on the team right now. And obviously we upgrade in certain areas too. Like Robert Quinn is clearly an upgrade over Leonard Floyd. We got Cole Kmet. We got more receiving options. So I'm not picking the Bears to go 11-5 just because I'm a Bears fan. If I was going based on my bias, I would have us at like 13-3 or something. But 11-5, I feel like is a fair prediction. Anywhere from like 10-6 to 12-4, it's possible for our team because we have the defense to do so.
So anyway, hold on. So um, going back to your first first games, you have us beating the Lions, you have us beating the Giants, you have us beating the Falcons, which that could be a trap game if we can contain Julio, because Matt Ryan, even though I think he's overrated as hell. he's still a great quarterback. He's an average quarterback,
Mm.
but he's still a top 10 quarterback in my opinion.
Matt Ryan, you're talking about?
Yeah, Matt
Yeah.
Ryan. He's still a top 10 quarterback. It's just yeah, last year he had a bad year, but don't think he's trash.
Yeah, he's definitely not trash. Like Falcons could definitely beat us. They have a really good offense, but I don't think their defense is good enough to like contain us. Like no matter who we have at quarterback, I feel like our offense is good enough to at least put enough points to beat the Falcons team.
So, and going back to the fourth game, which you have us losing to Old Man Rivers. Okay, I'm not gonna try to get into what the Colts did because here's the thing: the Colts backstabbed Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, which, well, I don't think, well, the Colts are a sleeper team. Don't get me wrong, but just by seeing what Philip Rivers did in on the Chargers, he might do on the Colts.
Yeah, but you also have to look at like how good the Colts offensive line is. Like I feel like if Philip Rivers has time, he can still be a pretty decent quarterback. And I mean also from my predictions, like I felt like, the Colts loss that I had, it was pretty much I only had that because the Bears, they always lose to like one team they're not supposed to every single year, so I kind of just picked the Colts for that. So it wasn't like any like real reason pretty much. We can definitely beat the Colts if you want to, but yeah.
And then going back to your week five prediction, you have us beating Tom Brady, which I do believe that we could beat Tom Brady, but because that Buccaneers offense got upgraded from last year from having Jameis Winston to adding one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and they just got LaShawn McCoy this week, I believe. You have us winning that game, which I do believe that we could win because I don't think because Brady's like 43 going into this season, and I think he's washed because we've seen it last year, despite winning 12 games, and he got carried by Bill Belichick, and that the Patriots defense was super great last year, and they were like the best. They were in rankings for the greatest defense of all time, behind the Bears and the Ravens, the 85 Bears and the 20 Ravens. Um, going back to you said we would win that game, which I do believe we will win that game. Do you have a feeling why we might win that game?
Yeah, it's all defense pretty much. Like our defense against the Patriots offense, not Patriots, I mean Buccaneers offense. I feel like our defense is going to overwhelm them to some extent because Tom Brady is, like you said, he's getting older, he's getting a little bit washed up. Last year I think I saw somewhere that he had like as bad stats in the last stretch of 2019 as Mitch Trubisky did. So he was not a good quarterback really last year, like top level quarterback at all. So yeah, he has a lot of weapons. Mike Evans, the other guys he has. The offensive line is pretty good, but I feel like the Bears, if they can just get to Tom Brady, get pressure in his face, we can definitely win that game. Just get Tom Brady to throw some interceptions. And the Buccaneers defense, I'm still not a big believer in. So, I feel like overall our team can beat that team because we match up pretty well with them.
And then going back to your Saints prediction, us losing to the Saints because I remember watching that game and I was actually like a depressed guy. I was actually, drinking my Coke as usual, but I wanted to drink alcohol after that game because not only did we lose to the Saints, we lost to the Saints backups. And you have like after what Drew Brees said, do you have a feeling his teammates are going to have an effect on him this season? Like for example, Khalil Mack is getting coming to Drew Brees, nobody's blocking him, and then he gets sacked, and then the linemen are like, "Whoops, sorry, didn't see him, Drew Brees."
Nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Like they're probably professional enough to not let politics come in the way. Because also Drew Brees, like he apologized for whatever he said. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal for the Saints. You know, they're probably cool right now. If we do get to the Saints, if our pass rush gets to them, it's probably going to be just because we're that good and not because of the Saints, like, intentionally, letting Drew Brees get sacked. So I don't think it's going to have any impact, really.
Yeah, but I try to keep that in mind, though. You know, it could happen. You know, sometimes players do that all the time, and yeah, uh, well, like, like it could happen. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see for sure. I mean, if anybody does that, though, on purpose, they're probably not going to get playing time anymore if they're, like, found out to be doing that on purpose.
So, and then going back to your week 9, which I think the Bears could get a little trapped in that game because I might actually go to that game if they have fans because with this whole coronavirus thing and them not having fans because my uncle actually lives in Tennessee, by the way,
Nice.
and he plans to go to that game, and I'm going to be like, and I plan to go with him to that game if they allow fans in that game. So if you think the Bears could contain Derrick Henry, which I think the Titans rely on him too much, and that can ultimately affect them if excuse me, it could affect them if they rely on Derrick Henry too much.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Our run defense is pretty solid, so we have a good chance of shutting Derrick Henry down. But yeah, if Ryan Tannehill is also as good as he was in 2019 as next year, which there's probably not a good chance of that happening because usually quarterbacks like him that have a pretty decent like season so late in their career, they usually don't repeat it the next season. So I feel like they are going to rely more on Derrick Henry, and yeah, we had the defense to shut them down. Losing Eddie Goldman though, it's definitely going to hurt because he's good in the run defense. But if we can replace him somehow, it's going to be pretty nice.
Oh yeah, speaking of Eddie Coleman, which I actually did forget about to ask. I actually, I posted many times on my Instagram. You know, who would you like the Bears to get after Eddie Goldman's opting out? Um, would you want the Bears to sign Janavion Clowney? Would you want them to get get snacks, or would you let them to get, or would you like them to get Everson Griffin from the Vikings?
I would have to say Snacks Harrison because he's already a nose tackle, so he has experience playing in that position, and we probably don't need help with the pass rush. So I don't think we need Jadeveon Clowney. It'll be nice to have him, obviously, but we don't necessarily need him. And we pretty much just need somebody that can fill in the role that Eddie Goldman had. So, you know, um, run defending, pushing the pocket a little bit. I feel like Snacks Harrison would be the best option there.
Um, this would probably you probably would say no to this. Would you want? Is it possible that you would want Clay Matthews?
Oh God. I mean, it depends. I never liked Clay Matthews. I think he's a scumbag still for some of the stuff he did in the past. So I don't think a lot of Bears fans will be happy, but we do need more linebacking depth. So yeah, we could definitely take a look at him if he's willing to come here on like a really cheap deal. And if he did good against the Packers, that would be pretty nice. But
Uh, I
me per-
thought you, I thought you were going to say no because of the roughing
oh,
the
yeah.
passer calls.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I would not like him to be here, but if we don't have any other options, if because we do need to get some backup linebackers. If we can't find anybody else, then I guess I'd be happy with him.
All right, going back to the predictions. Let's say Trubinsky stinks up the joint and then comes in Nick Foles because he's usually a second half quarterback and he plays in November. Do you think with Nick Foles, a second half Nick Foles, which we have seen him, once Carson Wentz went down in 2018, they beat the Rams in LA. They beat the Texans, and Nick Foles throws 4 touchdowns against Deshaun Watson. Then they go on the road to beat the Redskins, and then they beat us in a playoff game, and then they were a drop away from possibly an NFC championship trip. But do you think with Nick Foles as the quarterback which we know Nick Foles' second half usually is a great quarterback. Do you have a feeling that, and I'm going to say this out loud, do you think that there's a chance that the Bears could sweep the reigning defending NFC North champions, the Packers?
Yeah, there's definitely a chance. Like, yeah, I think we do have a chance. It's probably not like likely to sweep them because we haven't, I mean, we barely even beat them over the past like 15 or 10, 15 years. So, sweep is a possibility if our offense is good enough. You know, if our defense is still that great and if our offense can be at least like average, then yeah, you know, we have a chance to maybe sweep them, but I probably wouldn't bet money on it if you're asking me that.
Yeah, because to like last year was probably I was actually getting because I was actually predicting us to go to the Super Bowl that year. I was actually planning on going to Chicago, but that wasn't happening because of how bad Mitch was. Because I was watching opening night, and I was actually so hyped during that game because I was texting my uncle like countdowns for that game. I actually started a countdown on my Instagram because I was actually so hyped during that game because before the game, but we ultimately lost even though our defense put up like 5 sacks against Aaron Rodgers that game.
Yeah.
Do you have a feeling because I saw your refs helping the Packers out this season? You've seen Packers like you said you could have made the video 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did get help from the referees. Like even my Packers fans friends, they can admit that too. Like a lot of calls went their way last season. If you look at the Lions game, I mean, that was pretty much handed to the Packers. Late in that, game, they made like 4 or 5 calls in a row that went the Packers' way. And yeah, I mean, I could have made a video that long because there were actually that many plays, bad, referee calls that went their way. And I got a lot of hate from Packers fans for that video. Like, I got a crazy amount of hate, but I stand by everything I said. Like the stuff that I put in that video, it was all factual. Like I didn't make anything up. That was just stuff that I put together in a video, in a compilation. And I do agree that yes, the Packers also had calls that went against them, but it just seems like the calls that went their way outweighed, the ones that went against them by a decent
Mhm.
amount.
That's good. That's good. I was not paying attention to the holds that David, which I'm just gonna call him David because his last name is hard to pronounce. Do you really think the game could have gone our way if they kept saying holding offense? I don't know what number he is, by the way. 69, ten-yard penalty, still first down. Do you have a feeling that the Bears might have had a chance?
In the first game, yeah. Yeah, I mean there was like 7 or 9, 7, 9, 10. I don't know how many times they didn't call holding on Mac. Like Mac was getting held like a crazy amount of times. Yeah, if they actually called holding there, that could have been a different game because that was only a 1 touchdown game. And yeah, if we scored like at least 1 touchdown, we could have been interesting.
Yeah, it could have been interesting, but I have a feeling that our last season, the reason why we went downfall, which I actually did a video on this, you know, I was actually very sad that like in the off season when we traded Jordan Howard for like a couple, like we didn't even trade him for like a running back, we just trade him for a future pick. Like, why would we trade him and then sign Mike Davis? I knew he was a terrible signing at the start. I didn't see Mike Davis as a superstar running back like Jordan Howard was. I didn't see him as an elite running back that Jordan Howard was. And I don't see him as a top 10 Bears that Jordan Howard was. I all in all, it was just a terrible signing by Ryan Pace. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. We didn't we didn't use Mike Davis at all last season. Like we used him a little bit in the first game, and then after that we kind of just went away from him because he was such a bad running back. Like he didn't really provide us with anything special. So yeah, it was a bad decision looking back. I was kind of happy with it actually when we first made it because I saw his some of his highlights from Seattle. Like he seemed like he could be a pretty good change of pace back, but obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, I agree with 100%. Like getting rid of Jordan Howard, I wasn't happy with that either. Like we only got like a 6th round pick for him. That's definitely not good enough for a player of his caliber. And I feel like we could have used him last year too. Like if we had Jordan Howard on like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, we could have converted a lot of those first downs.
Well, I don't think that would have helped because Matt Nagy and Andy Reid are kind of a similar person. They don't usually run the ball; they rely on the quarterback too much. But I have
Yeah.
a feeling if Matt Nagy has learned a lot from Andy Reid because you saw how Andy Reid used Mahomes to scramble a lot. Like I have never seen Mahomes this dangerous of a scramble before. He's not a scrambler like Lamar Jackson, but I've never seen this dangerous of Patrick Mahomes scrambling before, which I have a feeling if Matt Nagy has learned a lot from watching Andy Reid how he used Mahomes, then maybe he can use Mitch Trubinsky to scramble.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw in 2018 that Trubisky had like that crazy rushing season. I think he was like top 5 or whatever in QB rushing. So, yeah, when Matt Nagy actually makes Trubisky run with the football when he designs plays for Trubisky to like get out of the pocket, that's when Trubisky is at his best. I totally agree 100%. And last year he got away from that like a lot. Like we did not see Mitch really moving at all. We didn't really do play action that much. Um, yeah, I mean Mitch was pretty much just a pocket passer last year, and we saw like he struggled a lot just as a pocket passer. So yeah, I mean we need to get Mitch moving a lot more because he's a pretty good dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, I agree, but and our reason why we had a downfall this year because of Akeem Hicks's shoulder injury that made him stay out for the probably the rest of the season. I know he came back in Green Bay, but still.
Yeah, that was a big loss. He's probably the heart and soul of our team. So yeah, that definitely impacted our defense a lot.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if um, we would have let's say Mitch Trubisky didn't get hurt the Vikings game, and we somehow won that game because Mitch Trubisky, even though he wasn't a great last year, but I wouldn't call him a bust like the media is because look at what Baker Mayfield had and what Philip Rivers had. Philip Rivers had one of the best running backs, Melvin Gordon, and one of the best wide receivers in the AFC West, or yeah, AFC West, and just did nothing with it. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield had Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, David Njoku, and Nick Chubb, and did nothing with it. And Baker Mayfield was actually the second person quarterback to lead the league in interceptions behind Jameis Winston.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um,
But oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. What were you about to say?
Um, so from what I'm trying to say is, people are saying he's a bust, but looking at the facts, uh, because people have been saying, imagine having a good defense, and you can't even make the playoffs. Like we are literally being compared to the 2018 Jaguars.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I know like a lot of people want to call Trubisky a bust because obviously he's not as good as Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson are. But if you look at his record, like he has a winning record, first of all. He has a pretty decent QBR. I think he has like an 88 QBR overall throughout his career. So I mean, I wouldn't call him a bust yet. If he has another bad season next year, or sorry, like this year, this season, if he has a bad year this season, then yeah, I'd probably call him a bust. But as of now, he's really only had one extremely bad year, which was last year. I don't really count the first year with John Fox because that was his rookie season where he had literally no wide receiver to throw to. John Fox was a horrible play caller, and he did not have much help on offense. But 2018 was a good year. 2019 was not. I don't think you can call him a bust just yet, like the media is. He's obviously not going to be as good as Mahomes or Watson are, most likely. Maybe he can be, but most likely he's not. But that doesn't mean he's a bust just because he's not as good as, the other quarterbacks.
Okay, and then after we lost to the Raiders, and then we go on our bye, which I have a feeling, okay, maybe Trubinsky just needs a little rest, his shoulder. We're gonna go back, Drew Brees is injured, and we need everything to get moving. And then we got blown out by the Saints. So God help me. And then the next week, I'd be like, okay, maybe it's just a little fluke. He was just getting back from injury. The Chargers didn't look good. And what do we do against the Chargers? Okay, I don't appreciate because one of my you might know him, Elderly Designs was there during the Chargers game, and this really disgusted me to all the Bears fans. They were booing their team when their team was up by 2 points.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely never boo my own team. I get why people do it because they're frustrated, but yeah, I think it's a really shitty thing to do to boo your own team, especially when you're up. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like you're up. Like maybe if they were down, like let's say the Chargers were like 21-0, then you have a right to boo. But like your team is up. Like come on, man. Yeah, maybe they didn't get the touchdown, but they didn't get the they didn't get the touchdown, but they're up. But it broke my heart to see Eddie P miss the field goal, even though I kind of didn't blame him for the loss, even though it was a 40-yard field goal, and I didn't like the fact Matt Nagy took a knee with a timeout.
Yeah, that was definitely dumb. He could have gotten like an extra like 5 or 6 yards at least. That could have been the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, like Matt Nagy was part of the reason why 2019 didn't go our way. The main core was the offensive line. The
Yeah. Like
like
just the main reason why we were bad last year, offensive line.
yeah, and people were like, "Oh, we should have got Mahomes." Like, yeah, great quarterback. Still doesn't fix the offensive line problem.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. We had a horrible.
No matter quarterback, no matter if we got Cam Newton, it doesn't fix the offensive line issue that the Bears have been having with Mitch Trubinsky last season.
Yeah, I mean, you could have thrown like a lot of quarterbacks in there. Like even I feel like Tom Brady would have had a horrible season behind that offensive line. With that
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree, but going to that Packers game, the second game. Oh no, actually no, not the Packers game. We'll get to that later. Going back to that LA game, which I actually was. It was a school night, but I stayed up anyway because I can't go to bed when my team is down. Like if my team was up 30, I definitely go to sleep. But it was a school night, and I was up in my office. I was watching the game, and I'm like, and my blood pressure was high that game, and I was screaming off the top of my lungs more than ever. Like, and after that game, which was the last couple of 2 minutes, Matt Nagy takes out Mitch Trubinsky, said it was a hip injury, then puts in Chase Daniel. Do you really think that yeah, I know you did a video on this, but do you really think the LA game was his fault?
The LA game. I mean, it was the same thing as the entire season. It wasn't truly only his fault. Wait, are you talking about who or what fault are you talking about? Are you talking about like why we did bad on offense?
Why we did bad the entire game in general? Like why? Like did Matt Nagy have any reason to bench Mitchell Trubinsky?
I mean, yeah, Mitch wasn't having a good game for sure, but like every other game this last year, he could have blamed it also on the offensive line playing horribly. We had no run game going that game. So yeah, I mean, it was a combination of all factors. I really hated when he benched Trubisky there because it was kind of just it didn't seem like a really good thing to do when obviously he was also one of the reasons why they weren't doing well on offense. Like Matt Nagy's play calling was pretty poor that game. I remember our offensive line was not playing good, and like putting in Chase Daniel for like what it was like 2 drives, 1 or 2 drives didn't really make sense to me.
I agree. I agree. And then it doesn't make sense because you start Trubinsky the next game
Yeah,
because it didn't make sense. So you basically just put in Chase Daniel for no reason, probably just to get a warm up on the Lions, just in case if Stafford gets hurt, I guess.
yeah, for sure. I didn't like it at all either. I mean, I know some people also said that he was actually injured that game, so he couldn't come back in, but he was fine in the next game. So it seems like an excuse to me.
Yeah, I pretty much hope for a good 2020 season, despite what we have. Got thanks for coming on here, Dawindy City. This was I'm gonna upload just so you guys know this was uploaded two days before Friday, which was supposed to be our original upload. So this is a 2 days earlier recording. So Wendy, thanks for coming on here.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
But that's it. That's all. Subscribe to the Windy City if you're not subscribed to him. Otherwise, you're gonna get Goku Black in your house.
Yes, sir.
And go subscribe to me, but you know what to do. But that's it. That's all. The Windy, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, subscribe, bear down, and always we have to say this pretty slow. We do this in the video. We usually say FTP. All right. On the count of three, we're going to say FTP out loud. All right. 1, 2, 3. FTP. And boom.
Awesome, man.
All right. Bye.